فقالت لا والله إلا الله وابني هذا. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي رب زدني علما. Honorable ulama ikram, respected elders, brothers, youngsters, mothers and sisters in Islam. All of us sitting here, whether we have been in this country for maybe a year, 10 years, 30 years or more than that, whether we own a house or whether we live in a rental, whether we drive a decent car or just an ordinary car, whether we have enough bank balance in our account or not, no matter whom we are, but still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed a lot of favors upon us. There are countless ni'mats of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon all of us. And the ulama tell us one of the greatest ni'mats of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that He has made us from among the human beings, the best of all the creations. Myself, none of us, we never requested Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from among the human beings. Allah could have made us from the insects on this earth, from the birds in the sky, from the fishes in the oceans, from the animals in the jungles. We could not have objected to Allah. But without asking, without filing a request, Allah made us in the best of all the forms and shapes. For this we should be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another great blessing of Allah, most of us sitting here or all of us sitting here, He gave us this kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah in the lap of our mothers, without any sacrifice, without any request. If you think for a moment, there are hundreds of people around us in this vicinity and in the whole world. There are hundreds of people who die in every minute in different corners of the world. Majority of them die without believing in Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And if they die in such a state, this is our understanding that they are lost forever and forever. Likewise, hundreds of babies are born in every minute in different corners of the world. Majority of them are born in non-Muslim houses. Allah knows best how long they're going to live in this world without the ni'mat of Islam. So Allah gave us this ni'mat that is the key to success in this world also and in the hereafter also. For this we should be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He made us in the nation, the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The last nation to come on the face of this earth, but the first nation to enter Jannah on the day of judgment. The ulama tell us, the ulama here also, that out of the 5 greatest shafa'as or intercessions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on the day of judgment, one would be that, oh Allah, allow my ummah to enter before any other ummah enters Jannah on the day of judgment. So if we would have been Muslims, but we were sent in the nation of Sayyidina Dawood alayhi salam, or Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, or Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, we could never have attained the same honor and respect that Allah has given us, bestowed upon us, because of being in the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. For this also we should be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And my respected elders and brothers, since the objective or the theme behind this gathering here is the lives of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and the topic that the responsibility given to me for this session is the struggle and the steadfastness, or in other words, the jiddu-jahad, or the mujahada, or the istiqama of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Whatever Sahaba radiallahu, mashallah, you have been hearing since Friday, so whoever is here since then or tomorrow or even today, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept the organizers also. May Allah accept the participants also. May Allah grant all of them sincerity of intention. And may Allah make it a source of our salvation on the day of judgment, inshallah. Moving forward, if you look in the life of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and you have already seen it since the last 2 days, whatever the ulama have been sharing with you, the one quality that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum had the most was, whatever they absorbed, whatever they saw, whatever they heard from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they implemented it in their lives. It wasn't for the sake of learning. It wasn't for the sake of knowledge. The primary focus was that it should be practical in our life. They used to instill it in their bodies also, in their values also, in their lives also. So just a couple of examples that no matter how much struggle they had to do, no matter how much jiddu-jahad and torture and persecution they had to face, but they would never leave the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his life also and after his life also. So one great example, we all know that in the 7th year of Hijrah, when Sahaba radiallahu anhum had a successful migration to Habasha, Abyssinia in those days, Ethiopia we call today, the 3 leaders of Makkah dispatched to bring the Muslims back. When the Najashi, when he called upon the Muslims, Ja'far radiallahu anhu was designated as a spokesperson for the Muslims. He gave a very impressive and a very comprehensive speech. Najashi said that I would not let these people go or would not give them to you, but rather they are under my protection. These are good people. So in other words, the kuffar of Makkah, the pagans of Makkah were defeated in this case. Umar radiallahu anhu had also accepted Islam just a while ago. Hamza radiallahu anhu had also accepted Islam. The 2 lions of Makkah al-Mukarramah. So day by day, the situation of the pagans were going down. So what desperate measure they took was, they unanimously agreed, all the tribes, for the tribal system. Still in the world today, we hear in the news, if we are from such backgrounds, we understand, but when the leader of the tribe decides something, no matter if a person agrees with him or not, they have to go with him. The whole tribe is on one side, and if you dwell into the situation, most of them might not agree. But because of this family values, because of this so-called that this is our tribe, and ye mera khandan hai, this is my family, so I will do whatever they want to do, whether they are right or whether they are wrong. So all the tribes unanimously got together and they made a contract. They wrote down a contract. Mansur ibn Ikramah was the one who wrote the contract, and the contract was, we will boycott the Muslims. 2 tribes, 2 families, we will boycott them. Banu Hashim, the great-grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his family, and Banu al-Muttalib, the grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These 2 families will be boycotted. Nobody is allowed to buy anything from them. Nobody is allowed to sell anything to them. Nobody is allowed to have relationships with them. One is to, lower your relationship, avoid it, decrease it. One is to sever the ties of kinship. So they were told clearly to sever the ties of kinship. Rishte todne padenge. And you should abandon them. You should leave them alone. The ulama Ibn Hajar Asqalani rahimahullah, the famous commentator on Bukhari, states, this was Muharram, in the 7th year of Nabuwah. The years that are before the Hijrah, we call them the years of Nabuwah, prophethood. And the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and since Sahaba radiallahu anhum moving forward, after the migration to Madinatul Munawwara, we call it Hijrah. So this was the 7th year of Nabuwah, the year of Muharram. This contract was written down, or it was hanged inside the Kaaba to give it respect and status. And everybody boycotted these 2 tribes. Banu Hashim and Banu al-Muttalib eventually had to leave Medina and take Makkah and take refuge in the Shi'b Abi Talib, the gorge. In English we say the gorge of Abi Talib, meaning this area between the mountains, which is known as the area of Abu Talib's gorge. These 2 families took refuge. Now this wasn't for a week, this wasn't for a month. The ulama say this was for 3 years plus. It was the 10th year of Nabuwah when these people came out. We can imagine ourselves. I'll just share a few examples with you. Hamza radiallahu anhu was also, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu was part of this. Now, because of these tribal values, even the non-Muslims, the pagans who were in Banu Hashim and Banu al-Muttalib, they also went into the gorge of Abu Talib. Because these are our family members, we have to bear with them whether we are Muslims or whether we are non-Muslims. Abu Lahab was the only person within these 2 families who stayed and sided with the pagans of Makkah in Makkah al-Mukarramah, did not go to the gorge of Abu Talib. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu says, we were in such a desperate situation, in such a difficult situation, did not have anything to eat for days and months, that one day in the night, no lights were there at that time, I was walking and something ripe, something wet, or something as if it's fresh came under my foot. and I picked it up and I ate it, and until today I don't know what it was. Another incident of Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he said, I went out to relieve myself. In those days they didn't have the luxury of having bathrooms inside the house. They had to go outside the neighborhood and then relieve themselves. Those who have gone in Jama'ah or have traveled in such areas know the difficult situation. So I was out there and in the darkness of the night to relieve myself. I saw a piece of the skin of a camel, the leather from the skin of a camel. It was a dry piece of leather. I burnt it. And when I burnt it, then I grinded it. It became hard, it became very easy to be grinded. And I made it into a powder. And I used that powder with water for the next 3 days. So this was the situation, the difficulty, the torture, and the sacrifice, the mujahada, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum had to pass. But nobody complained. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was with them, and this was what they had to bear. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was also bearing it. And the narrations tell us that the people of Makkah would hear the cries of the infant babies and the toddlers from far away. The cry at the night, that the babies did not have anything to eat. The adults can survive, but it's difficult for the old people and the babies to survive. One old woman said, moving forward, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiallahu anh, these two incidents, and once in a while, Sahaba radiallahu, the pagans of Makkah, because of their ties of relationship, in the darkness of the night, they would go and deliver something and come back. As usual, Hakim ibn Hizam radiallahu anh, had not accepted Islam yet, accepted Islam when Makkah was conquered. He was the relative of Khadija radiallahu anha. She was the paternal aunt of Hakim ibn Hizam radiallahu anh. So he took something to eat, groceries, laid it, mounted them on the camel, and then was going. Abu Jahl saw him. And Abu Jahl said, where are you going? I'm going towards the gorge of Abu Talib. Oh, you are helping and aiding the Banu Hashim? Then he started cursing him. And he said, I would disrespect you, I would dishonor you, let me see if you are able to do this. Abu Bukhtari came from the opposite side. He said, what's going on? Wasn't a Muslim yet. He said that I am going to take this to help my aunt and the family members, and he is stopping me. So Abu Bukhtari said, why are you stopping him? He's just helping out family members, so that's fine. He isn't inviting anyone. Abu Jahl started cursing him also. Abu Bukhtari picked up a piece of the animal bone, hit on the head of Abu Jahl, he started bleeding. Didn't say anything, because from the opposite side, Hamza radiallahu anh was watching the whole situation from the gorge of Abu Talib. So this was more embarrassing for him that I'm being hit and beaten while Hamza radiallahu anh is watching me. So anyway, so these are examples. In the darkness of the night, sometimes people used to go, give them the food, provide them with the food for a day, for 2 days, for a week, for a month, and that was the maximum. Now the caravans used to come from outside. They didn't have any malls or any stores or convenience stores or grocery shops at that time. The caravans used to come and they used to sell, and the people used to buy the stuff for the next few months. Whenever the caravans used to come, Abu Lahab used to make an announcement that these people in the gorge of Abu Talib, you should not sell them anything. If you sell them, you should multiply the price many folds, 3 times, 4 times, so they could not buy it. And Sahaba radiallahu anhu would come, when they saw the prices soaring, they would go back. They didn't have enough money to spare. They would buy once or twice, what would happen? They never knew how long this boycott will last. And then he used to say, Abu Lahab, that even for some reason you're not able to sell your entire commodities, then I will pay you the difference. I will pay you the deficit, so you don't have to worry. So the people, the owners of the caravans would go for whatever Abu Lahab was saying. He was one of the leaders of Makkah. So this is how the time was passing. So just visualize this, just imagine this in today's time. If myself am not able to eat once in a day, I feel the hunger. I cannot bear it. I'm just talking about myself, we all understand our situation. So this was not a day, this was not 2 days, this was not 3 days. If you know, yesterday I got this email, Modoya is the name of the city in Syria, right? Madaya. And on the Twitter, there was a tweet with the picture in it that the family boiled the leaves of a plant and the whole family is eating it. And an old woman is saying what I desire today is just a loaf of bread. For many months, they have not eaten regular food. They have been boycotted by the government. The UN cannot provide the food to them. They could not enter the city with the food. So my respected elders and brothers, we are seeing these situations today. And just visualize this. The same thing in the time of Sahaba radiallahu anhum, where at the time there was so less, there was no technology, very less resources as today. So imagine the persecution and the sacrifice they had to bear. But for the sake of deen, they bore everything. And they never complained to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'll mention two incidents, then inshallah I'll try my best to relate it to today's time. And what lesson we get it from it, and how to implement it in today's time. So this was by and large for 3 years. In the 10th year of Nabuwah, what happened was, a few days before that, a few months before that, Hisham ibn Amr, one of the people of Makkah who also had relatives in the gorge of Abu Talib, he said to himself, it doesn't feel good that we eat and we drink whatever we want to do, and these relatives of ours, they don't have any access. So he went to Zuhair ibn Umayyah. He said, this is not right. Such a long time has passed. Something has to be done. Zuhair ibn Umayyah said, get another person with you. We two are not alone. He went to somebody else. He said, I'm ready to voice this concern, but get another person with us. 5 people got together to the effort of Hisham ibn Amr. The next day in the morning, when the pagans of Makkah, Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab, everybody was sitting around the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Hisham ibn Amr said, I have a concern. This is wrong. That we are eating and drinking whatever we want to do, and these poor relatives of ours, they have no access. Then Zuhair ibn Umayyah stood up, second him. The 3rd person stood up, the 4th person stood up, the 5th person stood up. Abu Jahl, he lost the color of his face. He said something was decided last night. He was an intelligent person. He said something has been discussed last night. That's why you people are doing like this. Anyway, while this was going on, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam informed Abu Talib, who had not accepted Islam, the beloved uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he was in the gorge of Abu Talib. He said that the contract, the piece of leather or the piece of paper, whatever it was, has been consumed by the insects. It's no more there. And you should go for yourself and check it. Only the name of Allah, Bismika Allahumma, were the words even the pagans of Makkah used to start their contracts with. So Bismika Allahumma was there. The remaining entire contract has been eaten up by the insects. Abu Talib went to the kuffar of Makkah. He said, this is what my nephew is telling me. He's never wrong. He never lies. Whatever he says literally happens. So go and check for yourself. If he is right, we are relieved, we will come out from the gorge of Abu Talib. If he is wrong, then I will give him to you in your hands. Do whatever you want to do with him. You kill him, you hang him, you let him go free. That's a very just offer. So the people of Makkah said, oh Abu Talib, there couldn't be any person more just than you. So we accept this offer. They opened up the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, the entire contract was eaten up by the insects. Out of remorse and nadama, the heads fell down, they were defeated once again, and the Muslims came out of the gorge of Abu Talib. So 3 years plus was the time, the sacrifice they had to pass through. Keeping this example in mind. Moving forward, another 3 years, this was the 10th year of prophethood, jumping, fast forwarding to the 13th year of prophethood. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam returned back from Hajj. And in those days, he used to go from tribe to tribe, from khayma to khayma, from tent to tent, and used to give da'wah to the people who used to come for Hajj from the entire surrounding of the Arabian Peninsula. So while after finishing that, and this was the 3rd year of pledge, Bayatul Aqaba, in which the 3 years in which he was taking pledge from the people of Medina who accepted Islam, went back and started building the environment. As soon as he returned back in the beginning of Muharram, he told the Sahaba radiallahu anhum to start migrating. Now, before giving you a couple of examples, keep this in mind. First week of Muharram, the command is given that you should start migrating. The last week of Safar, the entire Makkah is empty. except for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Bakr radiyallahu an, and Ali radiyallahu an, and few old and handicapped people who cannot travel by themselves, or who have been stopped by the people of Makkah, or who are handicapped, do not have a companion to travel. The first week of Muharram and the last week of Safar. How many weeks come in between? First week of Muharram, just trying to bring your focus. First week of Muharram and last week of Safar. How many weeks come in? Anyone? 7 weeks. The entire Makkah got empty in 7 weeks. Visualize this today. The residents of Danbury are told to leave your paid house, to leave your farming, to leave your business, to leave your jobs, to leave your cars and everything within 7 weeks. If I am told to do so, what would be my situation? Every day and night that will pass on me and would be going away, how would I be feeling? This entire build-up, this entire effort, I came in this country in 1988. So this entire time that I passed in this country, the entire effort, I came in this country to better my life. Why lie? Okay. So this entire sacrifice that I gave is being lost because of one command of Allah, that you have to leave. Whatever you can carry, carry, otherwise just go. What they would carry? They didn't have a GMC or a Denali at that time that put everything, or a U-Haul truck, that you just move your whole house with you, or a trailer back of the truck. No. Just yourself, sometimes on foot, mostly on foot, otherwise on the camel back, or the mule back, or the donkey back. What they would carry, carry. Maybe a few clothings, suits of clothes, maybe food enough for the 7 or 10 days of journey, or maybe some dollars or whatever the currency, darahim or dinar at that time. That was the max they could carry. So just visualize this sacrifice. They say in this country, emotional distress. We were pushed to an extent, we sue you for 20 million. Oh, you didn't get hurt. So why are you suing for such a large amount? Emotional distress. What level of emotional distress Sahaba radiallahu anhum passed through? Just try to visualize this. So, coming back on the first week of Muharram, Sahaba radiallahu anhum were told to migrate. The first person, Shaykh al-Hadith rahimahullah, the first family also mentions this in Fazail Aman. The first family to migrate was Abu Salama Abdul Asad al-Makhzumi. Abu Salama ibn Abdul Asad al-Makhzumi radiallahu anhu, and his wife Salama radiallahu anha, who later became the al-Mu'mineen, the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, after the demise of Abu Salama radiallahu anhu. Two family, infant boy with them, just one child, their first child, got everything ready. Abu Salama mounted his wife and his infant son in the cradle, on top of the camel, tied up the belongings and started moving. Abu Jahl saw that. The people of Makkah saw that. Where are you going? You're running away. We won't let you go. While this conversation was going on, the family members of Salama came out. Okay? And they pulled their hand and said to the husband, put her hand, and said to the husband, this is our blood. You can decide for yourself, but we will decide for a daughter. So they took the daughter and the grandson also. While they were pulling her along with them, the family members, Susrali, the family members of Abu Salama came out. They said, this is your daughter, but the son is our blood. Baap ki taraf nisbat hoti hai. The son is our blood. So you decide for your daughter, this is our infant. They took the son away from the mother. So the father is on one side, the mother is on one side, and the son is on the other side. Imagine and try to visualize and feel this situation. The father did not stop. Oh, masla ho gaya, shed mujhe ijazat mil jaye rukne ki. No, he did not stop. He went on, continued his journey, reached Madinatul Munawwara alone. The wife was left behind. The infant son was left behind. And it is said that the wife used to leave the house every day in the morning for one straight year, continuous 365 days. She used to go in an open field, spend the whole day there, and she used to cry for her son. The husband is gone also, the son is gone also. Jab mar jate hain, phir bhi sukoon aa jata hai. If somebody dies, at least some level of comfort is there that he has passed away. People are living there, but you're not able to see them, you're not able to feel them, you're not able to speak with them. Imagine the situation. So after 1 year, then one of the relatives got this remorse, felt merciful for them. He went to the family members of Salama, Salama, leave her alone, Badil Mughira. Let your daughter go and be together with her husband. They let her go. Then he went to the family members of Abu Salama. Why have you deprived this young infant from the love of his parents, the father also, the mother also? Then this family members let him go also. The son came back in the hands of Salama radiyallahu anha, started migration by herself. Today when my spouse and your spouse, or our mothers and sisters, they tend to travel alone and the journey is long, we are so concerned. We are sending them back to our countries, but sometimes we cannot accompany them. We try to look. Is there some families that are going in the same flight, the same airline, so they can accompany them? We should choose an airline that speaks our language, so they should not have anything. We should reserve the seats beforehand. It should be an aisle seat. If the child is infant, it should be the front row. It should be a window seat. All these things are taken into consideration. And the strenuous and treacherous journey of only desert and mountains is being done by Salama radiallahu anha alone with her infant son. So this shows us the sacrifice of the women folk of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum also. It wasn't the sacrifice of the men alone. It was coupled with the sacrifice of the sisters and the mothers also. And even if today the ulama tell us, if deen is there in the life of the men, deen is still outside the house. And once deen comes in the life of our mothers and wives and sisters and daughters, the deen has entered the house. So it's not the men folk alone that if they are on deen, then deen, the entire family will be on deen. No. More important and significant than this is that our mothers and sisters and sisters and spouses and daughters, they should also have deen. So Salama started her journey and she reached Tan'im. Tan'im is the place where Masjid Aisha is today. When you are in Makkah al-Mukarramah and you have to do the second or third Umrah, you go to Masjid Aisha, you wear the ihram and you come back. Those who have gone know this. So if you reach that area alone, today if we drive in taxi, at least 10 minutes. If there is no traffic, 8 to 10 minutes. So when she went there, she saw Usman ibn Abi Talha radiyallahu anh had not accepted Islam. Most probably accepted Islam at the time of Sulh Hudaybiyah, the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. And he said, where are you going? She said, I'm going to be united with my husband in Madinatul Munawwara. A very soft person, a very gentle person, even before Islam. He asked, is there anyone with you? Now if we look and ponder the reply of Salama radiallahu anha, if it had been me, I would say, no, I'm with my son or with my daughter, I'm alone. What was the reply of Salama? And before you go and in the reply, once again visualize the situations. 1 year of being alone and separate from the son and from the husband. A treacherous journey of at least 8 days or 7 days if the weather is good. If you don't miss one exit. You miss one exit, in other words, you lose the track, you could be lost for the next 2-3 days. It's not that you can make a U-turn and drive for the next 5-10 minutes and back on the track. No, you're lost for the next 2-3 days. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything is used before you reach your destination. So now, he said, anybody is with you? Her reply was, La, Wallahi, Illallah, wa ibni haza. La, there is no one with me. Wallahi, I swear upon Allah that I am alone. Illallah, except for Allah. How many times myself we have passed through this situation and somebody asked us who is with you, we said we are by ourselves. I mean, passing through this difficulty, apparently no help is coming. Apparently she is destitute, but such a high level of belief on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that there is no one with me except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa ibni haza, and this son of mine. Usman ibn Abi Talha radiallahu an brought down his camel, moved away, let her mount on the camel and took the reins of the camel. Salama says, I have never seen a much nobler man, brother, as compared to Usman ibn Abi Talha. Whenever it was time for the destination, today we have rest areas or we have motels, they had manazil at that time, manzil. For after 1 day of journey, you can stay in those areas. No bathrooms or no hotels, just a sign that this is a manzil. So whenever we would reach a manzil for that day, Usman ibn Abi Talha would let the camel come down, move his face away, turn away, let me come down, and then I would go away, choose a place for myself. He would take the camel, tie it with the tree, and would lie down under the tree. And again, when it was time in the morning to move, he would bring down the camel, tell me it's time to mount on the camel, moved his face away, moved a little bit away from me so I can easily mount, taking care of the hijab and parda. When I was there, he would once again raise the camel, and again we would move. Once they reached Quba, you saw the houses of Quba. He said, this is where your husband is stationed. Go and be united with your husband. And eventually then Salama radiallahu anha got united with her husband. So this is one example. Umar radiallahu anh, when he migrated, Ayash radiallahu anh was with him. Another 15 or 20 riders were with him. But not everyone was so fortunate as Umar radiallahu anh that nobody was able to touch them. They were untouchables, in other words, because of the bravery and the valor of Umar radiallahu anh. So Sahaba radiallahu anhum gave this sacrifice. One is, you get the visa for the US back in your countries. You know 5 years, 10 years beforehand that your relatives have applied for you. Just give me an example. I'm not trying to, show off or something. My mamus, my uncles came in the 70s and they applied for the entire family. So my parents knew that we have to go to America. So from the beginning, the planning was done that they should be sent in such schools when then they reach America, they shouldn't have any problem for speaking English. So a human being plans from such a time beforehand because he wants to make his journey easy. Sahaba radiallahu anhum couldn't plan because they don't know what was right there in front of them. One was the treacherous journey, and then where to live. No booking in the hotel, no place to live, not knowing who will be the host. Once they reach the city of Quba, and then eventually Madinatul Munawwara, here is the second part of Hijrah that comes in. The ukhuwat, the brotherhood, the mawakha that was developed by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from amongst the of the Muhajirin with the Ansar, the immigrants with the helpers, the local indigenous population of Madinatul Munawwara. We'll wrap up inshallah in 5 minutes. Rasulullah, the historians say there were two brotherhoods that were developed by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One was Muhajirin with the Muhajirin in Makkatul Mukarramah. The narrations of hadith are an evidence of this. And the second brotherhood was with the Muhajirin, of the Muhajirin with the Ansar radiyallahu anhu. 45 of the Muhajirin were joined with the 45. Siratul Mustafa Ma'idris Kandali rahimahullah mentions this in detail. 45 Sahaba radiyallahu anhum from among the Muhajirin were joined with 45 among the Ansar radiyallahu anhum. The names are also there in the books. So then the Ansar gave such a high level of sacrifice that the Muhajirin came back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, they have given everything to us. Forget about sharing. They have given us the whole entire land to us. And their situation is such that they feel that we have share in each and every belonging of them. They feel that they have share, we have share in each and every belonging of theirs. Such was the feeling of the Ansar radiyallahu anhum. So they got all the reward. There is nothing remaining for us. Now look at the mindset of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum. If I would have been there, I would be happy or I'm getting it. Sahaba radiyallahu anhum are saying, we are getting it but we are losing the reward. They are taking away all the reward. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, make dua for them. They are helping you physically, morally, ethically, monetarily. You make dua for them and this would be a compensation for them. So you will also get the reward. Making dua is not a regular thing, it's a very heavy thing. And a person, the hadith tells us, you can return back people's favors by constantly making dua for them. So we should not take it light. Moving forward, this brotherhood was developed to such an extent that everything was shared. So I'll end it here inshallah. The lessons these two incidents have for us, and how can we relate them to the life we are passing through, or the area of the part of the world we are living in today. The lesson that we get, the take-home points that we get from these two incidents is, no matter what difficult situations come on us, no matter how difficult is the sacrifice, we should ask for tawfiq, ability, and steadfastness, istiqamah, and sabr from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the elderly ulama of North America, Sheikh Amin Khulwadiya, you might have heard his name, when these things happened, the Paris shootings, and then in California, he passed a statement. It's there on his website. And it was more or less, the gist of that statement is, it's very unbecoming for us as Muslims and as Americans that we should leave Islam, or we should turn away from Islam in the face of these difficult situations. Look at the history of the forefathers of this country. He hit the nerve right by saying this. He said, look at the history of the forefathers of this country. They came from Britain. Why? Religious persecution, regular persecution, the rights were not given, high taxes. Those who have gone to school in this country know the entire history. If they were ready to sacrifice their deen, that was Christianity or Judaism, America would not have existed today. So the foundations of this very country, North America, or the United States of America, is laid on this, that we are allowed to practice your religion freely, whether it be whatever religion. So as Americans and as Muslims, it's very unbecoming for us that we should sacrifice our deen in the wake of these incidents. So now, as good Muslims, we can be good citizens also. We are not supposed to do anything that is against the law of this land. Try to fulfill the rules, try to abide by the laws, and at the same time, we try to be good and practicing Muslims also. So this is, as far as the lesson is concerned, that whatever the difficulty and test we are passing through, it's temporary. Nobody is always happy in this world. Everybody has a mixture of both these things. Sorrow also and happiness also. And the last thing, how does it relate to today's life? My respected elders and brothers, we as youngsters, including myself, those who are parents, this is what my broken experience for the last 12 years is. We are not ready to understand and absorb the difficulties our kids are facing in the schools, in the playgrounds, and when they sit in front of the internet and the social media. These are three avenues that are affecting us the most: media, playgrounds, and the school. Whether they go to Islamic schools, whether they go to public schools. My daughters go to Islamic schools, so I'm in a very good position to say what is the situation. Unfortunately, embarrassing for me to say this, I have worked in an Islamic school. So we are still on the level of Islamic schools. Our schools have not become Muslim yet. There's a difference between an Islamic school and there's a difference between a Muslim school. So the situation is, I'm not saying the same, but there is a somewhat difference, but the situation is, it's such that it makes us lose hope. What will happen to our future generation? Atheism is a problem today. Every famous lecturer or professor in the college is slowly becoming an atheist. And he is giving you logical questions that Islam is not there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not there. So these problems that our kids are facing, whether it be media, whether it be gender relations, alternate options. You don't want to be called a boy, you can be called a girl. You don't want to be called a girl or boy, Z, you can be the third gender. This is coming up. You'll see this, inshallah, you'll see this, may Allah forbid, you'll see this maybe in this year and the next year, and the Board of Education is working on this. So they're giving you this alternate lifestyle. A person becomes hopeless, he has to pray salah also, he has to fast also, he gets bullied in school also, because of his name, because of his race, because of his color. So shaitan puts this in mind. Why believe in Allah in the first place? You can live without believing in Allah also. Atheism. I don't care, agnosticism. Whether Allah is, one is knowing believing in Allah, not believing in Allah, and one is I don't care. Allah is there, still I don't care. Na'udhu billah, if Allah is not there, still I don't care. Agnosticism. You know better this situation than me. So these difficulties as adults we are passing through, especially our youngsters are passing through. So what groundwork are we doing? People, our elders made this masjid, made these masajids, lack of resources, lack of knowledge, but still they made the groundwork for us. They built these institutions for us. Me and you, what we are doing for our future generations. Like our elders provided this beautiful environment for us, for our iman to flourish, and for our deen to be contained. Am I doing the same thing? Whether it be institutions, whether it be Muslim schools, whether it be Muslim colleges, whether it be our own playgrounds, whether it be our own control on not only control, our own locations for recreation, our own community centers, as other religions also have. Have you ever thought of this? So this is very high time to open up our mind and use our resources for this. Otherwise, our future generations will never forgive us. That they would tell us clear and simple that you did not provide us with the infrastructure that was supposed to secure our iman, that was supposed to allow us to flourish as good Muslims and good citizens in this country. So seeking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking tawbah from Allah. But it's whether elders and brothers and youngsters, the difference between a buzurg and a layman, the difference between a very pious person and a less pious person is very simple. The ulama tell us this to encourage us. What is the difference? He does more good deeds and we do less good deeds. He commits less sins, we commit more sins. He remembers Allah and seeks forgiveness and tawbah to Allah more, we do it less. That's the difference between a buzurg and a non-buzurg. That's the difference between a very pious person and a less pious Muslim. So it's not so difficult. Every day, introspection has to be there. When you go home today, ask yourself, what did you learn from this 3 days of retreat? Some 1 minute of introspection, muhasaba, on the mattress, on the floor, before going to bed, turn off the light, ask yourself, but was this day better than yesterday, or was it less than yesterday, or was it more than yesterday, on the same level of yesterday? Even if it's on the same level of yesterday, as same as yesterday, the ulama tell us we are losing. Every day of a Muslim should be higher than the previous day. So whatever was said and heard, first of all, myself and all of us, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a tawfiq to act upon these things. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka.
Jazakallah khair, Maulana Sahab, subhanallah.